current status, the story of employed and unemployed. We've seen unemployment rise and fall, but there's also a huge number that are still unemployed. That's what we report in on right here on the International Career Show. We share career opportunities and revitalization stories in your community from developing cities. Thank you for tuning in to the International Career Show. Today, we'll be sitting down with Nancy Mazza. She's with DornerWorks. She's going to be telling us about an electronics hardware engineering role they're looking to fill. Hi, welcome back. We're with Nancy Mazza. She's with DornerWorks, and she's here at the Oakland University Career Fair. And Nancy, I appreciate you visiting with us here today. Well, Nancy, tell us about DornerWorks, and tell us about the company, and tell us what you do for the company.
DornerWorks is a hardware and software electronic embedded company, and we basically do electronics design for any corporation that needs us. I am in business development for the Detroit area. We opened our office here in March. We are a Grand Rapids-based company. Our clients over in Grand Rapids are Stryker, GE, Gentex, those folks. Today, a year in the making here in Novi, we are doing exceptionally well. We're involved with Cooper Standard, Visteon, many big, large corporations that, for whatever their reasons today, need our help. And we're trying to develop our team of engineers here in the Novi, Detroit area as well.
Okay. And when you say engineers, articulate the type of engineers that you're looking for, and then share after that the specifications or the requirements that you believe would be needed to be considered for a position with DornerWorks.
Well, today we have a position open in Novi right now, a W-2 position for an electronics hardware engineer, preferably somebody has an automotive background. This gentleman would come in senior level and have done automotive design work, CAN, LIN, GM LAN, and basically developed a circuit board and interface with, GM Ford Chrysler, some sort of on-vehicle type application, though it doesn't necessarily have to be automotive, but that just seems to be where we're landing a lot of business opportunities. So basically some guy that can come in and write software potentially, or do hardware, or both, and do the whole design.
Okay. Now, in terms of this specifications, are there certain requirements or aspects to the requirements that where the candidate would not necessarily be considered?
Well, basically, they can go on to DornerWorks website, www.dornerworks.com. There's postings there today of both Grand Rapids and Novi openings. The job requisition I'm speaking of is 101. It's a hardware position. It's very detailed as far as what we're looking for. There are a bunch of openings also in Grand Rapids if somebody wants to move that way. And as we continue to grow this office, there'll be a plethora of opportunities. We're also looking for a hardware engineer that has what we call FPGA experience, which is a field programmable gate array experience. That's a pretty specialized position. And kids out of college don't necessarily have that level of experience yet. So if we can find somebody that has that senior level of experience, that's the next thing that we'll probably fill. We also have a lot of applications for RF, which is a radio frequency, and wireless applications. So we keep looking and trying to fill the needs of all these different types of positions. So.
All right, fantastic. Now, you did mention a little bit about DornerWorks, but share with me a little bit more about the history of DornerWorks and how you guys came about here in this local area.
The company was founded by a gentleman by the name of David Dorner. They're all a bunch of Kelvin College graduates, David and Todd. There's four partners, David, Todd, Dr. Steve Vanderleest, who's a professor at Kelvin, and then Jeff Dorner in the Grand Rapids marketplace. Their biggest account is GE, which was called Smith, so we do a lot of aerospace business. We had multiple engineers on a 787 Boeing jet that they completed a program in 2009. And then when the economy kind of took a tank over here in Detroit, they were actually doing really well in 2009. And David said, you know what, I want to expand. It was opportunistic time in 2010 to expand because the market was starting to change here in Detroit. So he got my boss, Fred, who worked at Delphi Automotive, 27-year-old veteran at Delphi, great guy, automotive savvy, and he and I opened up this office from the ground up. And in the first year, we closed $1.4 million worth of business, and we are finding ourselves in just a ton of homes. We actually booked a nice order yesterday So, I mean, things are just going really, really well. And just like I was just reading cranes over there, everybody's looking for engineers, and that's why our need is so great, is because they don't have them. Or they're bandwidth limited, or they don't have the knowledge of electronics. They're getting more involved with it, and they need our help because they don't have the expertise. So one of many reasons why we're in demand.
Okay, one last question, 30 seconds, Nancy. What else would you like to share with the viewers about DornerWorks?
Well, you know, I used to work in the electronics industry. I worked for electronic distributors selling components, Motorola, Microchip, and I worked in a really stressful sales environment for 25 years and called on many companies in Detroit. I can say that DornerWorks is a really nice family-owned, operated business, small, you know. You need to take a day off because your kid has a play at school, you're going to take it. I mean, that's kind of operation they want to portray. Not high pressure, just a nice company to work for. So if you're looking for that small, you've been there, done that in that high pressure automotive realm, and you don't want to be in the pressure cooker anymore, this is the kind of place you'd want to come to work.
Fantastic. I appreciate your time, Nancy.
Your windows weren't meant to be plastic, so make them disappear with magic during the Magic Buyback Sale. Replace your old windows with Magic fiberglass windows, and Magic will buy back your old windows for $200 each. Vinyl, wood, aluminum, Magic will buy them back for $200 each. Replace your old windows with new Magic fiberglass windows. They're stronger, more energy efficient, and they come in any color you want. Make your old windows disappear with Magic during the $200 Magic Buyback Sale.
The choice is obvious: Magic fiberglass windows.
President Trump's opponents say his strategies are working brilliantly. President Trump not being covered very well by the dishonest American press, however, covered a little bit better by the international news. Some comments made by the president at his re-election kickoff speech in Orlando, Florida back in June could be said are brilliant and indicative of how he's playing hardball with China. Is the president using the power of tariffs with China, bringing peace to the Korean Peninsula? Today I'll be sharing videos with you that will support this and show you what the president is doing, and I'll bring it all together at the end. Are the efforts of the president creating prosperity for Americans, also creating peace throughout the world?
The President of the United States.
China has been on President Trump's mind from his first address to Congress.
And we've lost 60,000 factories since China joined the World Trade Organization.
To his most recent political rallies.
I spoke to President Xi, terrific president, a great leader of China. Spoke to him this morning at length, and we'll see what happens.
Mainstream media touts that former Vice President Joe Biden is leading the president 15 out of 17 swing states, even though Biden barely gets any people at his rallies, compared to tens of thousands of people that attend the president's rallies. Many see how out of touch Biden really is, and lots of Democrats don't even grasp China's situation. Fareed Zurkar of CNN says China is very dishonest and agrees that the president's techniques of playing hardball are really working well.
Is going to eat our lunch? Come on, man. They can't even figure out how to deal with the fact that they have this great division between the China Sea and the mountains in the west. They can't figure out how they're going to deal with the corruption that exists within the system. I mean, they're not bad folks, but guess what? They're not competition for us.
Months back, President pulls out of the Paris Accord. Why? China reported to cheat continuously. Many disagree with them being given years to live up to the emissions and clean air standards. However, these same standards would have been imposed on America immediately. Why is China's economy slowing down? It's reported that their previous Chinese administrations had been cheating for years.
Honest, on one big fundamental point, Donald Trump is right. China is a trade cheat, all of which directly contradicts Beijing's commitments when it joined the World Trade Organization in 2001. The U.S. Trade Representative's report to Congress on China's compliance with global trading rules is worth reading. In measured prose and great detail, it lays out the many ways that China has failed to enact promised economic reforms, backtracked on others, and used formal and informal means to block foreign firms from competing in China's market.
From the beginning, candidate Trump said, we have got to win China. We've got to be tough on them because they're cheating. The president got pushback from both the Democrats and the Republicans.
We're told the president is perfectly happy, his words, to slap additional tariffs on China. Actually, Wilbur Ross, the Commerce Secretary, had said that. Are the Chinese ready for that possibility?
Yeah, I don't think so. China right now has an economy which is crumbling. Could even have been contracting last month.
Data showed China's credit growth in May was weaker than expected. China's factory activity also contracted in May, and imports fell the most they've had in nearly 3 years, signaling weaker demand.
We saw that with bellwether car sales down 16.4%, the 11th straight month of decline, the worst monthly decline ever.
China is a communist country. They control their industries. For example, China exports and sells Americans a Chinese product for $100. And we impose a 5% tariff on it. At this point, we pay $105 for what we used to pay $100. Consumers are looking for the best price. We wonder, should I buy this Chinese product for $105? Or should I buy the same product for $100 manufactured right here in the United States? Or should I buy that same product manufactured in Mexico for $97? Here are the facts. China controls industries. China subsidizes that product. Chinese companies use Chinese manipulated government money and devaluate their currency, making it cheaper to produce. A Chinese company is able to sell that product for $100 because the $5 tariff is covered by the government. The Chinese government is paying those tariffs, and their companies can still export to America and be very competitive with us along with other countries. These tariffs aren't really being felt by Americans.
Chinese seem to recognize that once they were in the system, the size of their market would ensure that every country would vie for access, and that this would give them the ability to cheat without much fear of reprisal. The scale and speed of China's integration into the world trading system was a seismic event. About a quarter of all manufacturing jobs lost in America between 1990 and 2007 could be explained by the deluge of Chinese imports.
Before the G20 summit in Japan, President Trump put a lot of pressure on China to help de-escalate tensions in the Korean Peninsula by getting President Xi of China to influence Chairman Kim from North Korea to decrease North Korea buildup and de-escalate tensions in the Korean Peninsula.
To meet face-to-face on the sidelines of the G20 in Japan, which starts on June 28th.
No, of course. You know, there are a lot of issues for that G20 bilateral. This is going to be the meeting of all meetings.
Mr. Xi is meeting with Mr. Kim in Pyongyang for 2 days, tomorrow and Friday, and he will be the first Chinese leader to visit in 14 years.
This also comes ahead of Mr. Xi's meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump at the G20 summit in Osaka next week, where trade talks will be at the top of the agenda.
But the two leaders have not met since Mr. Kim's failed summit with Donald Trump, and this was back in February. Beijing is a major donor of food and fuel aid to North Korea.
China is North Korea's biggest trading partner. More than 90% of North Korea's foreign trade has gone through China.
So in summary, is the techniques and processes that the president is using effective? The answer is yes, without a doubt. The president putting this type of pressure on China and North Korea is overall going to help not only stabilize and help Americans, but everywhere throughout the world. Thank you for your time today. If you'd like to support the show and myself, there is a PayPal link right here at the bottom. Feel free to click that. And again, I thank you for your time. And until next time, take care.